Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out, join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.
Good evening and welcome to a live podcast. I'm Bob Pace, and here we are fighting CPS and stop shaking our children. I want to warmly welcome all of you that maybe you've had a bad day or a long day or whatever it may be, and I want to really impress upon the fact that I don't know why I keep bouncing off the screen. That happened to me a couple of times this morning. I first want to apologize to all my listeners this morning. They're listening to my podcast. Somehow, my ad for Vince Davis came in when I was just trying to sign off. I do apologize. This is not a rocket scientist. I try to be very professional doing my shows, and I really try to work my hardest to do so. And we've had some glitches with the phone system and with Vonage and StreamYard. So I think we've worked out all the glitches, except we can no longer text on Vonage. I mean, I can text to my producer, my show producer, but I don't think I can text to anybody else because it says it did not go through. So we're working on that. Again, I apologize for this morning that I wasn't able to thank you or say goodbye. It was nice to have several people in there. We were doing the Cora answer questions discussion. I had Faye on there. She had a technical difficulty with her phone, and I was trying to help her, so I was a little distracted at times to be there. But anyway, I want to talk, and I hope I'm talking loud enough. I need some feedback if I'm too loud, too low. And so I really want to do this job professionally. And also, I want to help you all. I really care about everybody in here who's fighting CPS. That is the child protection system that I call. It's a branch of the government that is from Social Security that deals with the protection of our children from neglect and abuse. Furthermore, they're supposed to help families in need in the areas of food, shelter, clothing, transportation, medical, and educational. Also, they're supposed to help you with a job. Not only that, if they do decide to take your family apart or break your family apart, they're supposed to do family reunification, because it's been proven through a lot of studies that the best parents are the biological parents. The best parents are the biological parents. And so at all times, CPS should and must keep the families together. Right now, it seems like the majority of the cases I get, I've talked to over 500 people, it seems like 99% of them, it's automatic, take your child. In my case, it was like that. My children were never in danger. They're going to very refined schools. They're in schools at the time, but they took my children and they put them in foster care. What that is, that's the green light for the child protection system that is making money, trillions of dollars of money. In my case in Orange County, they were charging $20,000 per child, not charging, but getting money from the state, who in turn got the money from the federal government. The money is given freely from the federal government to the state, to the county, and there's nobody watching over it. There's no watchdogs. There's no accountability. For instance, in Richmond, California, there is $1 million gone unaccounted for, and $400,000 has been tracked to one individual who is being investigating for stealing the funds, but they're still trying to find out where the other 600,000 is on 600 million there is. But I'm really sad to say that you're going to find that most of you are somehow caught up in the bad parts of CPS. There's good and bad to everything, but I'm afraid that the Child Protection Service has gone bad. Now, you found me on Facebook fighting CPS. I'm glad that you did. It led you to this room. I'm on YouTube broadcasting, and I'm using a StreamYard application. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That's 14 shows. I've been doing that for over a year. So that's a lot of times that I've done these podcasts. And who I am, I'm a family man of 6 children, and 3 older and 3 younger. And I've had 2 marriages, one for 10 and one for 32. That's 42 years of family that I've been around. And I really love my family dearly, and I want to take care of them. Unfortunately, the child protection system doesn't care about the family, that the people I've met. Now, not all child protection systems are bad. I've met 3 of them here on my show in the past year, and they have told me what they do, and they seem to be really good. But they're far and few. I'd love to entertain either a policeman or a social worker that's been involved in CPS. Please call in and tell me how you handle your cases and how your family's in. I know there are bad parents. There are good parents. There are also parents that gone through misfortune of losing a lot of money. And I'm sad to hear that. I'm sad to hear that because it is hard. There's different parts of the world too. My podcast goes worldwide, and people in a lot of countries, third world countries, are losing their children too. A lot of children are killed. We do need the protection of our children, but it's got to the point right now we've overprotect. We now are greedy. We now want the money for bonuses and incentives. And I know it firsthand from my case and from the people that have been in here. Now, this room is open to all of you, and it's a welcome room. Here where you can relax, take notes, and enjoy what I have to say. And you can express with emojis like thumbs up, hearts, and smiley faces. Also, if you like what you hear, you can send stars to me. Please check below the follow button. And also, if you want to be notified, check the notification button. And so you'll find me at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time for 1 hour and 7 o'clock at night Pacific time for 1 hour. The only exception is that on Friday, I have Friday Night Lights with my family, the football at high school. And so I go to that. So I start my show earlier. I'll let you know as I get closer to it. It'll be 3 or 4 o'clock on Friday. On Saturday and Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock. Saturday, as you heard, Vincent Davis, my attorney there, has a podcast, a Zoom meeting. He invites you all to attend it. So I don't want to interfere with his podcast. So I move my podcast from 10 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning. Sunday, I go to church. That's why I moved the podcast. So I start at 8 instead of 10 o'clock. But those are my days. Those are my times. And I hope that you get something out of this because I want to help you. I've been fighting CPS for 15 years. And I have a lot to share with you of what worked with my case and what didn't work with my case. Now, I find out that this podcast, sometimes it's real busy. Sometimes a lot of you are talking, and I try to answer you all with your texts or your phone calls or be my guest. There are 4 ways to interact with this podcast. 1 is just by being in this room. 2, you can text me a message, either a comment or a question. And 3 is you can be a guest on my podcast. I have room for 9 more people, and you can be on the cam and you can talk with us about your case, and we can help you out there. And then the fourth way is I have a phone number. It's an office phone number. And I'll talk to you in a few minutes when I tell you it's live. And you can actually call me and I'll put you in speakerphone. Those are the four ways. Now I have 5 rules and I'll talk about them. Rule number 1 is you need an attorney. And I'll talk to you about the kind of attorney you need. 2, you need to organize your paperwork. And one of the most important documents in your paperwork should be a timeline. Something to keep track of all the incidents, an incident timeline where you track all the incidents. Thirdly, is you should never talk to social workers or police without the representation of an attorney. Don't let them in your home. Don't open the door. You don't know who's on the other side of that door. And you certainly don't want them in your house, and you do not want them to take your children. Do not like your children. I will talk more in detail about that. Rule number 4 is you need to research on the internet. You need to spend some time on the internet about your CPS case, and I'll explain to you about the format, the best way to get information. Rule 5 is you need to put together a folder with all your important medical documents for your children, yourself, all kinds of important legal papers, everything you want to put in there because they'll come in handy. Because you're getting a long road. If you're involved in CPS and you're at the beginning level, there's probably at least 3 years that you're going to take to get out of it. It took me 3 years. It seems a lot of people, it takes longer than 3 years. Now, I am talking kind of fast, and I'm trying to be enthusiastic and excited. So I hope all of you are listening to what I have to say. Now, it's a hard thing to do with the child protection system, what I call them. Now, in various states, there are different things. Sometimes they're called DCS, Department of Children's Services. That's in Arizona. California, they're called the Child Protection Services. That's CPS, the same as my CPS of Child Protection System. But it seems worldwide and in the United States, everybody knows what CPS is. And they know it's a nightmare if they've ever been through it. CPS has never been a very pleasant experience that I've heard from various people. There's only been 3 social workers I mentioned earlier that have been on my show that have talked about CPS. So you're in for your ride of your life here because you don't want to lose your kids. I know you care about your kids and you want to do what is best with your children. What is best with your children. Now, I have 7 rooms on Facebook that will filter you to this podcast. All the comments you make on YouTube will be on Facebook. All the different rooms you make comments will show up here. I'll see them all. They're all linked in there. And you may find me on one room called The Law Offices of Vincent W. Davis and Associates. Another room is called the reality series, The Horror Stories. Another room will be Relatives Fight CPS. Another room is Fight CPS Real Talk with Mrs. G. Another one is Juvenile Dependency. Another room is Mr. Davis' room, The Secret of How to Fight CPS and Win. My room is Fight CPS with Bob Pace, and the YouTube one is CPS Defense Strategies. So these rooms all tie into here, so feel free to express yourself and to do what you're doing there. Excuse me 1 minute here. I'm contacting some of the regulars into my show. Hi, Natalie. Oh, I'm so glad you made it tonight. Natalie is from West Hollywood, California. She has 3 children, and unfortunately, they first thought she was a crazy person, and they stole their children. They trafficked their children. It was a horrible thing. She was arrested, and then she was put in a special place for 72 hours observed, and she wasn't crazy enough. What unfortunately had happened is a very immature, zealous sheriff didn't really know her job and reacted quite drastically towards Natalie. And she lost her boy and her 2 daughters. And she's a good person because she comes in here in my room and helps my show go along. So I appreciate you here, Natalie. And yes, your 3 kids, Natalie. So Natalie is from West Hollywood, California. The other person I'm trying to get a hold of is Faye Manning from Richmond, Kentucky. She is also a single mother with 2 kids, and she is doing um, okay. But her daughter was stolen from her when her daughter was only 3 months old, and her son, she's trying to get guardian custody of her son. He is a special needs child. She was told by the corrupt CPS in Kentucky she had to choose between her son or daughter, but they're going to take one of her children. No reason. She had been in foster care herself, and she had been abused, raped, and molested in foster care. And the sad part about it, she was in and out 5 times, but somehow she got a high school degree and a college degree and became a registered nurse. But because she had a record of being in foster care, they immediately, when she started having children herself, attacked her and take her kids. You have to understand, once you're involved in foster care as a child, it will come to haunt you as an adult because they will track you down and they will take your child. They have no qualms about violating your civil rights or your constitutional rights. That's one of the bad things that they do. That's one of the bad things to do. And I see a face in my room, and that face is from Shauna Stevens. Welcome, Shauna Stevens. And I'm glad you joined me in my room. Now, as I was saying before, to react in this room is if you wanted to send that comment or question by texting me, all you have to do is when type it in the comment. All I ask you is to show your name, your first name, your city or your county, And what I mean by that is that you don't have to put both. I just need to know where your CPS case was. And then you want to show your state. Now, if you're from outside the United States, like Canada or Australia or some of these other places here, you show your first name too, but you show your city and a province or state. Some places have provinces, some have states, and then you show your country. Now, my countries that I've encountered so far, I've had Bangladesh, New Delhi, India. I've had Lebanon last night, a lady from Lebanon who's going through the horrific, terrible bombing of her country. And then I've had Saudi Arabia. Then dropping down to the continent of Africa, I've had Liberia. And then I've had Rwanda and Mozambique. Liberia is on the west coast of northern Africa. Rwanda is the central east area near Lake Victoria. Mozambique is on the east coast across from Madagascar Island. And then I've had the west coast province of South Africa. Then going up to Europe, I've had England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom, and Denmark and Sweden. Across the pond, I've had North America, and I've had several of the provinces in Canada. Just the other night, I had British Columbia, and the lady was from Vancouver. And then in the United States, I've talked to all 50 states, including Washington, D.C. Then going to Canada, then to Mexico, I had Mexico City, and then down to South America, I had Grenada, which is east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South America. Across the Pacific to the land down under, I've had Australia. I've had the east coast, which is the Gold Coast of Sydney. And then I've had the south coast, which is at Melbourne in the state of Victoria. So I've had a well representation of people from around the world. And this is a worldwide place to talk about your CPS case. Now, another important one is that, let's say you want to be a guest on my podcast. To be a guest on my podcast, all you have to do is contact my show producer. Her name is Grace, and she'll help you get you on the show. Right now, prayers go out to Grace because she's trying to take care of her ill father. So I know how hard it is when you lose your father or your parents become ill. So many kudos or prayers go out to Grace. But she will help you be on my show. All you have to do is email her with one of my show times. There's 14 show times. It's either evening or morning, and it's Sunday through Monday, one of those dates. And you put that email to grace@vincentwdavis.com. That's grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she will contact you, send you a link to StreamYard, get you on the podcast. And if you happen to get knocked off, hang on to that link because they'll get you back on again. It's good for that life of that show. She'll tell you things to do and not to do on the podcast. We don't allow smoking or eating on the podcast. Also, we don't use the children's names or the judges' names or the social workers' names. And she will tell you other things like the lighting and the audio part and how to do it best. Please use your computer. It's okay if you use your phone. That's okay there too. And so that is another way to be on the podcast. One thing neat about that podcast is I'm giving away a free 15-minute session with Mr. Davis. That means you can talk to the top CPS attorney that has fought CPS and has won. He is a dependent law juvenile family attorney. He has experience in juvenile family dependency law. He's been doing it for 35 years that he has said there. And also he is a court, he's a trial attorney. He can do trials. He's expertise. Not only has he fought to get your children back and fought CPS, he's also filed civil lawsuits both in federal and state level, where he's won millions of dollars against the corrupt CPS systems, especially in Orange County, LA County, San Bernardino County, and other places around the country. He'll practice law. He's from Arcadia. That's where the law offices are. And but he'll do it in Orange County, Riverside County, LA County, Northern California. Even he has a state right now, Oklahoma, ready to go to Maine, Pennsylvania, whatever it is. He can practice law in all the 50 states, and he will help you. And so be a guest on my show. You get 15 minutes to talk with him. You have to be a guest first. Let me know you want to be on the show, and then I'll do the linkage with our producer. You'll need your name, your phone number, and your email. So that's a good benefit, is to be a guest. Lastly, I'm going to put my phone number up, and I'm going to make it so that it's now live, that you can call in, which that means there's my number. It's 626-698-0990. That rings my office number on my phone, and we use Vonage is a stream application, Vonage. So it is live, 626-698-0990. You can talk on it, but right now you cannot text on it. I'm available during my showtime hours. If you call me before or after my showtime, I'm not available. I'm not available there. So I am available, all my showtime hours and so forth. So the number is live, and those are 4 ways you can interact with this podcast. Now, I'd like to read something that Shannon has sent in. See what Shannon says. Okay, Shannon Stevens, DHS, which is CPS, took my children years ago for drug use. Even though I've done everything asked of me and was clean and sober when my rights were terminated, I just happened to stumble across this live podcast. She's in Iowa. I don't know what part of Iowa, but welcome, Shannon Stevens. I've had several people from Iowa. My prayers go out to many lives and family that are torn apart unnecessary. I will agree with you on that. I will agree with you on that. Now, it seems like my podcast is a little blurry here. Let me see if maybe my lens is dirty. Hopefully that is better. Yeah, that is definitely better. So I welcome you, Shannon. I'm sorry your rights were terminated. If you knew back then and you had an attorney and done everything, your attorney should have got your children back. Your attorney should have got your children back. But I welcome you to this podcast and thank you for the kind words. That was nice of you to say that. Thank you for your prayer, Natalie, to Grace. You know, Grace works hard behind the scenes. She's my show producer. And, I have said prayers to her because she's the second person that I've known recently to have lost a father or is having trouble with their father, because sometimes people get old fast. And where she lives, they retire people at age 50. You cannot work after age 50 where she lives. I don't know why, but I'm a dinosaur. I plan to live a long time. I plan to live a long time. Now, Natalie and Shannon, here's D. Welcome, D. D. S. Robinson. I tried. Will he come to Ohio? Yeah, he'd come to Ohio. I mean, it's up to you. There is a retainer. All attorneys require a retainer. He isn't pro bono. He does a lot of pro bono work. He gives too much of himself and he overtaxes himself. But he will talk to you with a retainer, D. I imagine you're in Ohio, so welcome. My office number, by the way, is 888-888-6582. That's different than the number that I have on the screen for my own phone number. That 888-888-6582 is you can reach the office and you can retain Mr. Davis right away. You can retain him right away. Now, you can also talk to Mr. Davis through several of my programs. One program will give you 15 minutes for free that you can talk to him. And he will help you for 15 minutes. You would have to be a guest on my podcast or call in on my podcast to qualify for those free 15 minutes. And what you would do is give me your name, email, and phone number, and then you would send that to Grace, and that she in turn would set you up with Mr. Davis. Now, another way you can besides calling in or be a guest on my show, you can go to a website. If you notice, on the bottom of my screen, I have a ticket up running. And that ticket that's running right now will tell you how to book a discount Zoom, a private Zoom consultation with attorney Mr. Davis. This is the special arrangements that he's made with me, Bob Pace. Now, you're going to go to the website, https:// and it's candidly, CANDLEY.com /apps, APPTS, VWD /Bob Pace. When you go there, you use your credit card and you can book 30 minutes of his time for $60. 30 minutes for $60. It's well worth it. They'll give you more time than 15 minutes, and you can book them for 30 minutes. So all you have to do is go to that website. That's the special arrangements. When you call into my office or you speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. It's very important you do so. So that is a little ticket running on the bottom of my screen. So I have two numbers up. One is my office. One is my own office number directly to me. And it's available to, for instance, call in and so forth. And Natalie says, hi, Sean and Dee. And she's going to call in because Natalie sometimes likes to talk with questions or helps on my podcast. So you can call in, Natalie. There's nobody there that is. I'd love to have you and speak on my show. Now, for some of you that, I've told you about how they interact with podcasts. Now, my rules are, one of the most important rule is you need to find an attorney. And how I compare this to, if you know anything about open heart surgery, you're definitely going to get a professional doctor. Now, a lot of you may say, well, they gave me what's called a court-appointed attorney. Well, the court-appointed attorney, they are just that. They're a criminal law attorney. They're not a family law or a dependency law attorney. They don't have experience in juveniles or family and dependency law. They also have a caseload of 30 or more clients, so they won't have time for your case. They're not going to fight for you. They're going to do the minimum amount of work to get your case through the court. Good evening, Natalie.
Hi. Good evening, Bob. How are you?
Pretty good. I hear today you're out there chasing bottles, plastic bottles and cans.
Yes, you have to do that. Free cash money. It was rough.
Yeah, I know.
It was actually much easier because what happens is like a couple buildings and they're good, but the problem is the green trash driver, he can take them out when he has the tents, like the blue bins, right? But then the problem is he doesn't have enough time, and then the other driver, the blue driver, he just like takes them all out and really fast and dumps them, and then only get very little, and it's sad because they're going real fast. But today, the blue trash can driver was late, so I made more money.
Oh, okay. Well, Dee says hi, Natalie. She says hi.
Hi, Dee.
Dee is from Ohio, and she lost her children in Ohio.
I understand how you feel about losing your children.
Yep.
I would be the one to understand. I mean, everybody has a different level of feeling to lose their kids, but I can understand. I lost my kids, so it's just a horrific experience to lose a child.
Well, she's in Ohio. Both Dee and Shauna, if you'd like to share your story, you can call in. I'm sure Natalie would get off the phone, or you can text me a message, and Natalie and I will try to help you. Natalie is
I'll help you.
Yeah, Natalie is a very helpful person, likes to be a part of my podcast. It's nice to have other people interacting, so this podcast is not dry. So I want to thank the hearts from Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. And then I have some sad faces from Shannon. And Natalie, I know how hard it is because you miss your child. You're in this room because you care about your children. You wouldn't be in this room if you didn't. And as I was talking about attorney and a court-appointed attorney it just won't help you. I know it's best to have no attorney at all, but a court-appointed attorney won't fight for you. And in my case, in Orange County, you're not allowed in the courtroom. I don't know. Are you allowed in the courtroom in LA County, Natalie?
Are we allowed in the courtroom for our trials and hearings
Yes,
in LA
yes.
County for
Are you allowed to sit in?
dependency court?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you allowed
Yeah,
to?
we can
Yeah.
sit in. I'm allowed to sit in. Everybody's allowed has to see the judge.
Yeah.
Because they have to see that they will write in the record that you were present.
Also, I like to have our dependency courts now have a jury trial. I think it's wrong for it to manipulate by social workers and not have our peers judge us before they put our children away
or before they. Kind of a good idea and kind of a bad idea at the same time.
Oh, what would be the bad idea? What would be the bad idea, Natalie?
The worst is that because sometimes you could have jurors like my dad, was a trial attorney. My dad would say, well, they don't, some of them don't know the procedures and stuff in the law, and then you would have to find, then your attorney has to find the jury, pick a jury, and it takes time, and it costs longer for you. So it's more costly.
Why? Do you pay for a jury trial?
You have to pay. You would have to pay for a jury trial.
I didn't know that. In criminal court, if you don't have money, they're not going to charge you for a jury trial.
Yes, but in civil court, yes. But they could actually, because of dependency court, I don't know if they'll charge you for that. Yeah. But because you have to beware, because a lot of people who hear all those abusive charges, like let's say a jury, they can be mixed. Like one will say, well, I don't believe that, the parent abused the child, but they'll just start hearing they won't really some of them will be meticulous, and some of them won't be the jurors. They want that final vote,
Well, I think also in dependency court, you should be innocent till you're proven guilty. Right now, it works that if you have an accuser, like a layperson or a professional, that accuse you of doing something wrong away, the Child Protection Agency, the social workers, will take that as you are guilty until you're proven innocent. And that is wrong. That is wrong. You should never be in that situation because they will look down at you.
Well, I think that the best thing is to stop that. And they should have a deposition of and look through all the they should have a hearing and go through all that evidence for discovery, but they don't.
Oh, okay.
They don't do it. And that's wrong. That's the first step they should have. That's what my dad recommended, because my dad was an attorney. He said, just let them go through the whole reports, because my dad went through some of them and said, no, this is all garbage. This is nonsense. But the legislature, they said that they could have hearsay. So that's even crazier because it's dangerous. Yes, you shouldn't have hearsay anonymous calls. You should have everything documented as the person who's done it and have a signed affidavit.
Yeah. Hey, Dee, I want to express to Natalie that she says hi to you.
Hi, Dee.
And she had the similar thing happen to her that you did, that you were mentally thought to be unstable, and for 72 hours they lock you up. And it's very sad because Natalie had a run-in with a female sheriff who really did not know wrong from right. And the sad part is the police and the child protection system want to find out that you're mentally bad, because in the doing so, it opens up a lot of things for them, which I think is wrong.
Well, see, the police, they responded to a call for some reason, and because like my brother and I were trying to gather the pets and stuff, and I remember I was upset because like he wouldn't believe me just to let me stay in the other house anyway, because the guy next door is crazy himself, because he did write the letter that was threatening me, and he insists on having still a landline, but it's because they have to go through my yard. Anyways, another story. But the thing is, the police they're inexperienced in many ways, so they just responded to a welfare check, which I opened the door because they kept banging, and my two little girls were with a neighbor, and he was helping them, and they were watching TV. There was nothing wrong going on, except like, yes, I was upset with my brother, but he left to go pick up our belongings. So it was not a dangerous situation at all, except for the letter.
Yeah.
They overreacted.
Yeah, they do. They do at that. Is there something you could have done differently if you had to do the whole thing over again? Is there something you could have done differently with your case?
The most thing in my case, I would still gone to my other house, but I would have never showed the letter, and I wouldn't have opened the door to the police at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of you out there always question, should I open the door? Now, keep in mind that some people lately have been shot and killed right away by opening the door. There was a black Air Force man who was 23 years old on May 3rd of this year in Gainesville, Florida. He was home. He was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. Meanwhile, the Gainesville Sheriff Department was investigating a report of domestic violence in the neighborhood that the black Air Force man was living in there. So they went to his home, and because the policeman wasn't trained about how to recognize, if there's domestic violence going on, or how to open a door, or how to engage a person on the side of the door, is that he did everything wrong. He banged on the door, didn't say anything. He banged on the door a second time. The man inside was worried to death that this was somebody else, not the police. And, he could have said, excuse me, this is the sheriff of Gainesville Police Department. We have a report of domestic violence. Are you alone in there? And the guy could have lied in there, could say, no, I'm alone, or whatever, or he could say there's 3 or 4 people in there. But what could have done is that he could have had them lay down on the floor. But before they did that, he could say, unlock the door. And then if you lay on the ground, put your hands behind your head, then he could open the door. But where he was standing in front of the door. He could have been shot. And he was nervous about his life. So he opened the door, and standing no more than a foot or 2 away from him was this black Air Force man with a gun at his side, not pointing at him. And the policeman shot 5 times, point blank, and the man died while talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime. So that all could have been avoided if the policeman knew how to investigate. He could have told the man, or if there's other people there, to lay on the ground with their hands behind their head after they unlocked the door. Then he could have, and if he said, if you have a weapon, please put it as a side of you. Then he could have scooted the weapon further away so he knew where the weapon was. And then he could have handcuffed the individual and searched the rest of the place. Then he could have talked to him, and he would still be alive today. And the policeman would not have lost his job. But he was fired, and he's being a civil lawsuit because it's not right to shoot somebody. This has been happening far too many times, and too many people are getting shot at. There was a lady that was arguing with a sheriff who she let in the home, and she was doing her dishes, and the sheriff shot her 5 times in the face, and she was immediately killed. That was wrong. You don't settle disputes by shooting somebody. If they have a weapon drawn on you, it's self-defense. But too many policemen are trigger happy and filing a bullet and killing the other party. Then there's a third case recently about a Korean lady who had some mental problems, but two policemen shot her dead. Now, this overforce, this overkill of police brutality is really wrong. As a professional, you're supposed to serve and supposed to maintain law and order and be a public servant, but you're not supposed to sit there and be defined killers. I know your life is on the line, and I know that you're worried about that. But if you talk calmly and professionally and work with people, most of the time, you can disarm the situation and everything like that. But I mean, when you were being investigated by the sheriffs, did you feel your life was in danger when they tried to arrest you?
I just was scared. Like, why were they taking me to the hospital and they never explained anything?
Yeah,
that was just crazy.
Yeah, that is.
You know?
Yeah, that's definitely a negative thing. Okay, my time tomorrow, D, is I'll be on at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. 10 o'clock in the morning, D. If you have to go, I understand. Yeah. And if you want to come on, I'll be on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Right now, you folks, I'm talking to Natalie from West Hollywood, California, and she shared a little about her case. I like to have people call in. If someone would like to call in at 626-698-0990, please do so. And I can take your call. But right now we have Natalie talking about her case. Her case was that they thought she was mentally ill or mentally incapacitated and couldn't take her children. So they locked her up for 72 hours and they took her children to the police department, and later CPS took them and put them into foster care. And now she does not have any access to her two daughters or her son. Her son was placed with a family member, placed with an uncle, but is far away in Washington, and she's in California. So that is far, far away. Her two daughters were put into foster care. Go ahead, Natalie. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It takes 2 days on the train to see my son.
Wow.
So it's very, because my brother's like, well, I can fly you out. But I was like, I don't want to fly because I don't want to spend extra money on the ID. Mm-hmm. You know? Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous when I could have spent it on the train trip.
Right.
You know?
Now, what other questions?
It takes 2 days.
Yeah, what other questions do you have, Natalie?
You know, one thing I have a question on is how can like how can you like prove that the social worker is lying? Like, you have to file a 388. I mean, I remember you were talking about David's house. She was helping you to say that he was lying, the social worker.
Well, a 388 is a motion in California. Some states use the word 388, but it's a motion to ask the judge, who within 30 days has to have a hearing when you have new evidence or you want to introduce something into court. That's what a 388 motion is. So let's say you finished all your classes. You requested 388, so you go before the judge and say, Judge, I've freed all my classes. Could I have my children returned? So that's what a 388 motion is.
Right. I have a 388. I filed 65 of them. I probably have a record of them somewhere. But the thing is, I just want to know is, like, there's also a motion where you can have your social worker removed.
Well, that's a whole different area. We're talking about new evidence. If you want to talk about a social worker.
So new evidence. Yes, new evidence. So anything could be new evidence.
Well, new evidence, or you completed something. There's been a change.
Okay.
There's been a change. Now, filing against your social worker, you can do that first at the local level, then at the state level, and then at the federal level. And it can be complaint. You can do a registered complaint against a social worker. You can also request the agency replace your social worker with another social worker. You can
Right.
say,
It could be
look, the
removed, but you have
chemistry
to file
doesn't
that in
work.
court.
You say the chemistry doesn't work. We'd like another social worker. The
You
problem
still have to
being
file it
is
in
when you
court
try to do all
with
these
evidence.
things without an attorney. That's why I try to emphasize. And a lot of you say, I can't afford an attorney. But here's the problem. The attorneys know the law. And I'm not saying you have to go out and get a Vincent Davis, but you need an attorney that knows dependency law, that knows the courts, that knows how to do things. And without that, your amendment to your civil rights and your constitutional rights will be violated. You won't have protection. And I'm telling you, I tried to do it pro se, where I fight on myself. That didn't work. Pro bono is when you get attorney for free, and there's no guarantee they'll do a decent job. So I had to sell my home and get the money from my home sales to hire Mr. Davis.
Yes, that's very difficult. I know, because financially it drained me too, and my brother too. But that's the thing, because they have to have special resources for these types of cases, because they're intense. They can last more than 4 years.
Well, yeah, mine was 3 years. Another person on here was talking about 8 years. Somebody may be even longer.
Mine was like about 4 years.
Yeah.
So the thing is because they kept pushing. At first, they wanted to try guardianship in some way, but they were wishy-washy on it. And then after that, they said, "Oh, adoption." It's like, okay, but I don't want adoption. I want my kids back.
Yeah, well,
I don't want my kids adopted.
You really need an
I'm not
attorney.
mentally
Again,
unstable.
it all focuses back on an attorney. You can sit there and wish all you want, but unless you have a dependency family law attorney, an attorney who's also civilly fought CPS. That's the key thing. When you're looking for attorneys, you should start off with 2 simple questions. Are you a family law dependency attorney? Number 1. Number 2, have you ever done a civil lawsuit and won against the CPS and won your case? If the answer to both those questions is yes, then you found yourself an attorney. Because if they fought them civilly and won cases against them, they're going to fight your case and be a pit bull of attorney and get your children back. The problem is it takes money to fight them. It's just like open heart surgery. If you need something wrong with your heart, you're going to get a professional doctor, heart surgeon, to work on you. Yes, it's expensive, and your medical insurance may not cover it. You may have to go get loans or a credit line or sell something or use collateral. But you need that professional attorney to navigate CPS. CPS is like you're Alice in Wonderland with them, and you've fallen in the rabbit hole in the garden, and you met the Chester cat, and the Chester cat is telling you to go from one room to the next room, and you're not going anywhere. You're like a hamster on a spinning wheel. You ever watch a hamster go round and round on a spinning wheel? He seems like he goes nowhere. That's what you end up doing in CPS. They're very corrupt.
You don't go anywhere.
They don't
go anywhere, and the thing is, their system is biased. So it's just meant for supposedly to protect the right of the child, but it doesn't. It just protects the right of the state.
Yeah. So as I say you always need an attorney to fight. And I know it's a lot of money and everything like that. And it doesn't have to be Mr. Davis. He'd love to have you and be retained by you, but it is a lot of money. Now, he offers that showtime on Saturday. that you all should attend. My podcasts are good. They're twice a day, 7 days a week. He does once a week with his podcast, and his question and answers from a real attorney. Vincent Davis is very brilliant. He's been doing this for 35 years, and he has won cases. So he's the best man to help you there. So as I told you all earlier, he can be recruited for a free 15-minute session with him if you would be a guest on my podcast or call in. And then secondly, if you want to pay $60 for 30 minutes, he'll talk to you. And you can't go wrong. You have nothing to lose with him. I wish I found Vincent Davis early part of my case, but I didn't. My case was very bad because for 5 years, they kept investigating me and they found nothing. And then on the 5th year, they got a hold of the police, and the police forced me to open my home and to talk to them. And I should have had my attorney present and said not to. You know, if you have an attorney, you know, things are a lot different with CPS. The child protection system don't like an attorney that can fight them. They hoping you will take a court-appointed attorney for you, your family, the husband, wife, and for the kids, because all the court-appointed attorneys can be manipulated by the judge. The judge, in my case, was very corrupt in dependency court. His background was automobile claims and damage to cars. He knew nothing about family reunification or about how important it is that family members raise the kids. The biological parents are the best parents to raise a kid, the mother and father. And a lot of you fathers out there, if you're divorced and you're separated from your wife, you're no longer married, don't forget your kids. Kids is responsibility of both parents. It isn't should be one or the other parent. And, you know, it's great that you love to make children, but you got to be responsible for your children. You got to be responsible for them.
Bob's right. A lot of these men, they just want to make kids, but they don't want to help. And
Yep.
that's why a lot of women are in the system.
Yeah,
Because
it's
the guys that don't want help.
right. It's a burden.
And then they actually discriminate against the single moms, and they keep blaming us. Well, why don't you go after the father? He doesn't even care.
Yeah.
And they just want to take that child, your children, and put them with crazy people anyhow that are abusive. But they get a pass. They only get 12 hours of training or less, the foster parents.
Yep. Well, Natalie, I've slowly, it's 8 o'clock. My show normally goes from 7 to 8.
Okay.
I started a little bit, a minute or two after 7 o'clock, but I need to wrap it down and wind it down because I got to play this Vincent Davis, his information about his show on Saturday.
Okay.
I want to thank all of you that came in the room. But first, I want to thank Natalie for calling in and being on my show. It's good to see Michelle Portner again. Thank you for coming into my room. She was in me the other day.
Michelle?
Michelle Portner. And I don't know.
She's from Alabama, right?
No, I don't know where she's from. Yeah, I'm doing okay, Bob, but thank you for asking me, Michelle Portner. I'm going to be again on tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific time. And thank you, Michelle. I want to thank also Dee Robinson, who had a similar case there, who talked on the show. Thank you for being on my show. Also, thank you, Shannon Stevens, for being on my show. Thank you, all my listeners and all my people that come into my room and give me all the hearts and the smiley faces and the thumbs up and so forth. Thank for the emojis. And again, I'll be on again tomorrow. That's tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There will be a short little blurb of Vincent's show on Saturday, so listen to him about that. I'm going to turn off my phone number now, so that gives more room on the screen. So when Vincent talks, isn't blocking out his websites. So God bless you all. Hang in there. Keep fighting for your children. And this is Bob Pace saying good night. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Hi, I'm attorney Vincent Davis, and I've been fighting CPS for over 35 years. Through my years of experience, I've gained invaluable insights that I'm ready to share with you. If you're a parent or a caregiver or a relative, we need to talk. I'm offering a new opportunity for you to speak with me on a one-on-one basis. Ask me any questions, and I'll provide you with the insight you need to take steps in your CPS case. Members get everything they need to gain confidence and the knowledge that they need to support necessary to truly fight back. And as a special thank you for attending, I have a special offer just for you. Don't miss out. Join us, and let's take that next step together. I'll see you at the question and answer event.